Alright, so here we are with the next game that Hideki Kamiya directed after Beautiful Joe. This is Okami. Let's turn things down just a little bit. I didn't actually expect it to go into the videos again. So, you see there that, well, I'm going to go back to the title screen real quick. So this game came out in 2006. Beautiful Joe came out in 2003? So there is a bit of a gap, considering the time period. I'll get to the... I was going to mention that. I'm playing on the Switch version, by the way. Because that's the only HD version that I have. Yes, there are many, many ports of this game. That is something I wanted to touch upon later on. Right, so here's the story about how this game first came to be. So after releasing Beautiful Joe, Kamiya had this new pitch for, for a new game. Because, after Beautiful Joe came out, that's when Clover Studio was, officially established. And their whole mission statement was to develop new original IPs. Which is kind of funny, in a way, because the first game that they worked on was a port of Beautiful Joe to the PS2. And then the next game they worked on was a sequel to Beautiful Joe. And then the next two games that they worked on were spin-offs of Beautiful Joe. So, depending on how you look at it, Okami is the first game that actually came into existence under the Clover Studio banner, which sadly has been removed from the HD ports. Anyway, so Kamiya had this pitch after the release of Beautiful Joe, and figured I would just show it off because it's included in, the extras that you get from beating the game. They might have included it from the get-go on the ports, but anyway. Here's the first pitch that he came up with. So, yeah. It is, I believe, a little pre-rendered, so I don't know if it came through on the stream, but just looking at it on my TV, I did see some artifacting going on, but that's beside the point. The point is that that was the video that Kamiya went to his bosses with at Clover Studio, and he said, I want to make this into a game. And they looked at that video, and they said, yes, go for it. And that was actually why he didn't get to direct Beautiful Joe 2, because he had already signed on to make Okami into a game. Although I did read to make sure that Kamiya did get to do the writing for Beautiful Joe 2, so at least his the story that he had in mind got to stay consistent in that sequel. But the thing about that pitch video is that there's not a whole lot of gameplay there. I mean, it's a very rough idea. All you've got is a wolf, a white wolf, running through a rocky landscape, and then greenery blooms behind it, and that's it. So it took a lot of refinement, I would say. I think that's the word, to get it into something that would look like a game. And there were a lot of ideas that they had that ultimately got scrapped, so I want to show off the other internal presentation video of that looks a little closer to the final product. But I want to point out that a lot of what we see here, well, some of what we see here is just not going to happen. So, like, these other animals here make no appearance in the game. Shooting laser beams from your back is not going to appear in this game. I mean, that could be it. That is an explanation. I didn't read anything specifically about that, so I can't say that that's wrong or anything like that. Yeah, those are just, two of the stages of development of this game that I wanted to show off, because, I'm trying to be all informative or whatever. Alright, so that pretty much covers it. The makings of this game. We can go back and I guess I'll just start a new game from scratch. I am going to skip this opening cutscene though. Well, I'll show off a little bit of it. I'm not going to show the whole thing. Because I do feel like it's kind of long. And it's all like Animal Crossing style or Banjo-Kazooie style voice sounds for kind of a long time. It's so, and you can hear it. It does have this, nice painting aesthetic going on. But anyway, I'm just going to skip this because this is kind of a legend that sets the background for the game. So I'll give you the rundown of it, the short version. So there's this village called Kamiki, and it was terrorized by this demon, Orochi, and every year Orochi would demand a sacrifice. And then every year this white wolf would appear. So the people thought that the wolf was connected to Orochi. Then a great warrior from the village named Nagi sneaks in, pretending to be the sacrifice, and then he fights Orochi, the wolf shows up. Turns out the wolf is actually a good wolf. They work together, kill Orochi. The wolf was gravely wounded. And now there's a statue just outside the village dedicated to the wolf. And now it's 100 years later. Oh, also the wolf seemed to have divine powers. We'll see. We'll see more about that for sure. Then it is definitely worth mentioning that this game, believe it or not, borrows very heavily from Japanese folklore and mythology. So pretty much all the characters, they're named after mythological figures, although their names were shortened in the Western release, but that's fine. Like there's a mention of the warrior who defeated Orochi 100 years ago, named Nagi. That's the shortened form of Izanagi. So shout-outs to Persona 4 if you're into that kind of thing. Let's see. Horrible tragedy. Naturally, the village of Kamiki managed to escape tragedy. And there's the statue that they dedicated to the White Wolf. It was named Shiranui. So here's Sakuya, who's peach themed. Going over my notes here at the same time. Alright, so I mentioned that, it's borrowing a lot from folklore and mythology, and it's for that reason, actually, that this game is a lot easier than, Beautiful Joe or Devil May Cry were. That is entirely on purpose. It's because Kamiya didn't want the difficulty that he normally put in his games to bar people from experiencing the whole story of this game. And believe me, when I say it's easier, it really is a lot easier. Like, wow. I don't think I've ever, died. Because there are so many, safety nets in place to prevent that from happening. So, yeah, now we're playing as Amaterasu. Forgive me if I've pronounced it wrong. I am American, after all. It did say, the little name title card thing. That Amaterasu is Okami. So that means I get to talk about how the title of this game is kind of a triple pun. So it works like this. So the word Okami, when you say it out loud, it means wolf. But the kanji that they use to spell this game, to write the title out, actually means, great deity. And that same kanji is also used in the honorific for the Shinto sun goddess Amaterasu, though it is pronounced differently. So all three of those things combine into the player character. The great deity Amaterasu incarnated as a wolf. There you go. It's a three-way pun, a panache à trois, if you will. And if you won't, I'm sorry. It's too late. I can't unring that bell. Alright, let me skip this. Sorry. The gist of it is, things are bad. Things are bad all over. You figure out how... Oh, shit, I accidentally skipped the introduction of a character. Oh well. So the sidekick character, the fairy, if you will, like the Zelda fairy, is a little sprite named Isun. He's a wandering artist, and he's basically on a quest to learn the celestial brush techniques. Alright, you know what? I gotta change something real quick. Where the hell are my settings? Wrong button. Camera control, invert x-axis. Why is it wrong to begin with? Oh hey, filter settings. I'm gonna put the filter on heavy, just because I can. Just to make sure it actually comes through on stream. I don't know if it is or not. Yeah. Changes will now be implemented. Alright. That's better. Not gonna worry too much about it. So with the filter thing, I guess I should talk about that. This game, clearly has a completely different aesthetic now than what the original pitch had. Thick, broad lines, and that's the main thing. And the colors, and one of the touches that they decided to add was to put this texture filter over everything, to make it look like it's paper. Not saving. So we mentioned ports, and that means I gotta talk about the Wii port, which was just awful. I mean, it is a travesty, that port. Don't mind me as I'm breaking pots. So, alright, there were kind of a lot of things wrong with the Wii port. That paper texture filter I was just talking about was removed, so it lost some of the aesthetic charm. That wasn't good. The appeal of putting this game on the Wii is the mechanic that we haven't seen just yet, but, your divine powers come in the form of, literally, like, painting on the screen. Oh, we'll see some of it right now. Oh yeah, so Isun calls Amaterasu, excuse me, Amy the entire time. So I think I'll just do that too. Alright, so this is Isun doing it, but yeah, so the celestial brush techniques, you pause the game, everything goes, kind of monochrome, and then you just paint over it with what you want to do. So that seems like it would be a really good fit for the Wii, right? The whole pointer aiming thing, that's like a really good idea, right? And, I thought it was. I was really excited for the port. That was the only good thing about it. So on top of losing the texture filter, the Wii port also had these just really awful motion controls, just awful, not super responsive waggle controls for like attacking. That was not good. There's a whole other issue too where game's credit sequence is just completely removed. And there are so many reasons I've heard. It was just a mess, really. So what happened was Clover Studio, let's see, this game came out in 2006, and Clover Studio was shut down shortly after, in 2007. The Wii port came out like 2008. And the reason that Capcom said publicly was that since Clover didn't actually work on the Wii port at all, they weren't legally allowed to use the Clover Studio logo for the Wii port. And, you know, as far as that's concerned, Clover Studio is not even mentioned in any of the ports, as far as I'm aware. This is Isun still doing it, by the way. Right, so Capcom said that they weren't allowed to use the Clover logo, with Clover not actually being involved for legal reasons. And the video for the credit sequence was a pre-rendered video, and they just didn't have the source materials for the video. Alright, so now the game wants me to actually do it, so now I'm controlling it. This is Amy's brush, which is her tail, which is cute. I'm just gonna put a dot at the end of the line there, and there we go. So the credit sequence was a pre-rendered video. Didn't have the legal right to use Clover's logo, so they said, well, let's just take out the entire credit sequence. It was, suffice to say, a very shitty decision. It's like, wow, it's incredibly rude. The version that I'd heard was that the sequence, or the video, uses a song that was licensed only for the PS2 release, and they didn't get the license for the Wii port. So it was my understanding that that was why the sequence was removed. I did find online that apparently the Japanese version of the Wii port still had the credit sequence, so I don't know what's going on. Maybe it is some weird legal thing. As far as, you know, like American copyright law goes, maybe, or, you know, Western copyright law. I'm not entirely sure. What I can tell you is that all of the HD ports, starting with the PS3 and, you know, now including PS4, Xbox One, PC, and Switch, they all have the credit sequence restored, but the music is different. So, it also doesn't have the Clover logo in it anymore. So, maybe both those things are true? I can't imagine why they would have to change the music if it was just the logo. I don't know. Anyway, I was talking over all of that. That sequence there was Amy gaining one of the powers, one of the celestial brush techniques. So now I get to use it for myself. Do you have to see this River of the Heavens thing? You know, again. What I'm gonna do here. Alright, you know what? I gotta change the controls again. I thought just inverting the x-axis would be all I needed, but I gotta do both. Alright. So again, so now I've got the power to restore, rejuvenation they call it, which allows me to restore broken things. He soon somehow doesn't realize that his ride is responsible for this. And then let's see. The astral pouch. Yeah, soon he's kind of self-centered. That's for sure. So the astral pouch is one of those safety nets I mentioned. That'll keep you from dying. So I'm picking up these, these fruits here, and then you see that counter on the right. It takes 200 points to fill up an astral pouch. And when it's full, then if you lose all your health, then you just get a full revive. No other penalty, just uses it up. It's basically like having a fairy in a bottle in Zelda. So I think maybe in all the times that I have played this game, I've probably had to resort to the astral pouch like maybe 3 times. So, probably won't use it all that much. When I say this game, yeah, it is not particularly hard at all. Alright, Strange. The sword seems to be damaged. I wonder if I can rejuvenate it. Oh, you can kind of see here on the side that if you're drawing outside the designated rejuvenation area, it doesn't actually show up. Soon is finally caught up with the rest of us. And it's time for another constellation to gain a new power. Another fundamental power. Oh, that's something I haven't mentioned, or haven't gone into completely just yet. So, unlike oh, yeah, it's true, he did miss that. But also, I missed that too, because I was too busy talking about my own thing and just kind of pressing the button to advance the text every so often. Anyway. So I've been drawing... I've been making that comparison to Zelda with the fairy in the bottle thing. And that's because this game is structured more like a Zelda game overall. I mean, there's still some differences, of course, but the point is, it's not like mission-based the way that Devil May Cry and Beautiful Joe were. So I guess you could say that since I just got the power slash technique, that that this would be the moment when Link finally gets his sword in the beginning. Alright, so there are 13 brush gods. Every time you get a new one, you gotta demonstrate it. So this is, the most basic ability. Just draw a line through something like that, and you just cut through it. That's all there is to it. So I guess here's the part where Isun says that, really says that, he wants to see all of the celestial brush techniques. Remember, he only got like a basic version of rejuvenation down. Alright. This is kind of helpful, something you'll see here. See often throughout the game is kind of an indicator of where you're supposed to go. You can see it just kind of keeps pointing in the same direction, so you just cut through the gate here. Got some trees in the background, don't worry, it's fine, they'll come back eventually. That part is nice. Oh, now we gotta get into the combat. So, we'll see what I mean when I say that this game is easy. Oh. Alright, so what he's talking about here is these enemies will go black and white, and that's when they're most vulnerable. So, since it's tutorializing me, I'll just use a power slash technique on him, and he's dead. Just one hit is all it took. But I'm not going to do that. I'm going to do this. There's another thing in this game called the floral finisher. Do floral finishers, you get these demon fangs that are used to trade for cool items. So battles are, enclosed in these relatively small areas, I mean, depending on the battle itself. And they are discreet, like they were in, say, Beautiful Joe. But this time around, you're only rated on time and damage taken. And that's it. There's no style point or anything. There's me taking a hit there, so I'm not going to get a perfect rating on this second battle. That's fine. Oh, hey, something I can point out now. It's probably a little hard to see, but in the lower left there. Oh, I can't believe I forgot to mention. There's a dedicated bark button. Very important. Anyway, in the lower left there, when I was in that battle, there's that red circle with Amy's silhouette in there, and that's another one of the safety nets. So basically, as you hit enemies more, you build up, what do they call it? Godhood, I think? Something like that. And what that is it's a shield, basically. It protects you from damage. There are 3 levels to it. So, at red means it will protect me from 1 hit. If it gets up to yellow, that's 2 hits. Green is 3 hits. It's really easy to build up. Cut that peach down. That was the goal here. That brings the village out of the darkness. But yeah, the whole godhood thing, like I said, another safety net. Easy to build up. Probably not going to lose it against enemies. At least not too much of it. It might come into play in, you know, certain boss fights, but yeah, it's not that bad. Alright. You soon don't be like that. I'll just ignore that and move on. Alright, so that was a strange statue there. Apparently we're just gonna not draw any conclusions here. Oh, gasp. The villagers have turned into stone. There's that huge monstrous roar. Alright, let's talk to this kid. Alright, so now I gotta find some high ground. So that's something you gotta just check out 3 of the petrified villagers here. Which I will say I didn't really get that at first when I first played. This is you know, once you see like 2 people are turned to stone, and then you see all of the others, like why would you keep talking to them, you know? Anyway. Here's another... Right, that's exactly what I thought. It would just repeat itself. So I spent kind of a while looking around. Anyway. So now Isun was talking about, wow, if only the sun could come out. You just gotta draw a circle. It doesn't really have to be like a perfect circle. It could, you know what? Yeah, that's fine. As long as it closes, as long as it's vaguely loop-shaped and it closes, it's fine. And yeah, being the sun god means that we do have the power to summon the sun just whenever. Technically always had it all along. So, yeah, those are the fundamental shapes that you'll be drawing as circles and lines. Simple, but effective. Alright, now here's the other thing. I mean, Amy's got these distinct red markings. It's got that kind of swirly cloud thing going on. I mean, clearly not an average wolf, right? So one of the things about this game is that most people aren't going to be able to see Amy's divinity. And that's based on their belief in the gods or something like that. Don't worry, Amy was not growling at Mr. Orange there. It was the 3 demons behind him. And I can't even make this text go faster. Also, Isun has a sword. You can't do anything with it at the moment. Yeah, like, this is how easy the combat is right now. I mean, I've just got a 3-hit combo. That's it. I can just button mash my way through the whole sequence. So in terms of technical skill, it's a pretty low ceiling, which is fine. I think that's fine. All right, then right here's a mechanic, a praise mechanic. So the short version is, as long as you conduct a little divine intervention, as Isun said there, with red text, so you know it's important, you build up, you get these points called praise, and you use that to, like, enhance yourself in certain ways. Probably going to give me a tutorial on it soon. Feed bags, that's another thing. Alright, come on. Yeah, there's a menu. I get it. Thank you. Alright, so, yeah, here's the praise menu. I don't have enough to actually do anything, but you can use it to extend your health. Use it to extend your ink pots. That's something I should have, or I've been meaning to get to talk about. Ink pots are, you can think of it as like a continuation of Beautiful Joe's VFX meter, where using your powers will use up part of the meter. There are some exceptions, but generally it's each use of power costs 1 pot. If you use all your pots before they have a chance to refill, you end up in a weakened state, just like in Beautiful Joe. So even though the structure of the game is very different, there are still some of those elements that keep coming through with Kamiya's designs, with the games that he directs. That's one of the reasons why I wanted to include this game after all. Alright, so we've got the feed bag full of seeds, we found some birds. Oops. Let's give the birds some seeds. So this is another way to get praise. You get this quiet little moment of an animal eating out of the bag. Camera just pans around him. You can let it go on for almost as long as you want, but nothing happens. Like, that's the entire thing. Yeah, that's something you can do. All throughout the game there are just animals all over the place, and you can feed them. You can tell whether or not you have fed them by whether they have hearts above their heads when you approach them. Here's poor Mr. Orange. We got this guy. He's like a wandering Buddhist monk or something. Generally, you talk to him, he gives you, he tells you there's like an evil presence nearby, and you have to go fight can see my godhood just leveled up to yellow. So usually with this guy, it's just kind of a challenge. You want to win the fight as fast as you can. So that took 17 seconds. He said that's not fast enough. Whatever, we'll move on. You know, talk to some of the villagers. Although I should point out that digging holes with X. I do want to point out that when you talk to someone, the prompt doesn't even say talk, it says listen. Because you're a wolf, and wolves don't speak human language. And this is, yes. Sometimes when you talk to a character, they'll get a green triangle above their head, and that means you can talk to them some more. So let's give it a shot. The field has 10 turnips in it. Hayabusa, the dog here, with the stylish purple scarf, purplish scarf. Hayabusa has managed to get 9 of them, but I bet we can get all 10. You can kind of cheat a little by doing a slash on Mama there, whatever her name is. Mrs. Turnip or something, probably. Oh, she almost got me there, but not quite. Oh yeah, that's another thing that can happen. Try it again. I didn't draw a perfectly straight line. So what I ended up doing was just covering her in ink, and you know that'll happen sometimes. It doesn't actually use your ink pots, so it's fine. Just barely avoided, oh, there we go. Just barely avoided using up my entire meter. There we go, we got the 10 turnips. Oddly shaped turnip is always the last one. That's your proof that we got them all. Got a little praise. So let's see, I guess right now I'm just helping the villagers out. I do like that these people are just talking to this random wolf. Drying pole's gone, eh? Maybe you can rejuvenate it and bring it back. That's close enough. Alright, so now you can hang up her laundry. But she needs more sunlight to bring it up. So that wasn't a closed loop. That is. Alright, cherry cakes. Hopefully we'll get to that. If not, though, it's fine. Alright, so I guess let's try to head on out and... giant boulder in the way. This poor guy, he says that his mind really wants to move the rock, but his body won't listen. So he concludes that it must be some kind of demonic possession, which is our cue to meet a new enemy type. It's the red imp, cousin to the green imp, but it has that instrument there that it can use as a shield, and that's the only difference. It's actually pretty significant. So you see, he's gone black and white, but he's protected, which means I can't actually attack him. But you have to slash through his instrument. Then you can attack him again. Hey, there we go, got some praise. Now, Isun's probably going to tell me, hey, you've got enough to actually use it. Alright, see, now he's going to tutorialize me about increasing an attribute. So I'm going to increase my ink. This is, I think, fundamentally, that is the most important thing to upgrade. Because, I mean, if you're going to be using your powers a lot, then obviously you want a bigger meter. Alright, so we want to bring Susanoo over here. Said to be the descendant of Nagi. But, you know, so, you know, if Nagi could slay a giant snake demon, then probably his descendant 100 years later can move a rock, right? But it sounds like he just likes to throw his name around and, you know, just live off of his lineage and not actually do anything. So here he is being lazy. He's talking in his sleep about being the greatest and oh, Kushi. So to wake him up, you gotta tackle him. You can tell he's a serious warrior because he has a wooden sword. You can also tell that he's definitely the best from this comic relief music. Oh yes, Isun does not like being called a bug. He only wears a bug shell for a hat. So anyway, we're just gonna force Susanoo to come with us. And I guess with his stubby little legs, he can't quite reach the ground, and that's why he, as a grown-ass man, is forced to come along. His sword. Tohen Boku. I don't know what that means. A lot of weapons in this game will have names like that. We'll just have names, really. Isun mentioned that his blade is called Denko Maru. I don't know what that means either. But I'm guessing Tohen Boku probably has something to do with the fact that it's just made out of wood. Yeah, surely he can handle a rock. No, he's just gotta focus and concentrate. He's gotta power up first. Alright, well, let's go check in on his training, because, what if he's not actually doing it? Yeah, there he is, just kind of drinking sake. Oh, except he doesn't even have sake anymore. Oh, no sake means no training. There's his motto. Why do today what you can put off until tomorrow? Let's bash him one. Oh, he's too lazy to get up even if you smack him one. Luckily, though, there is someone who can help with that. Right about here. There's Kushu. Hebrew sake. Oh, this is the point where the game's supposed to... the game tells you that NPCs will have more to say sometimes. Alright, so the mill is broken because the water wheel busted. If only there was some way to fix something that was broken. I wonder what it could be. Alright, that's enough messing around. Fix the water wheel. She can make some sake again, which means we can finally get some to bring to Susano so he can finally start his training. You can just eat entire bales of rice. It's fine. Don't worry about it. Nice thing, though, about carrying anything like this, I will say, is that it doesn't actually impede you in any way. You can still run around just as fast. You can still tackle and jump and all that fun stuff. I guess you can't... Maybe you can park? I forget. Aki relied on sake to eat Orochi. Alright, so at least now that he has his sake, he's actually going to train. Alright, so let's watch. So, to help him with his training, you do have to actually intervene, which means cutting through these dummies that he's set up. Now it's time for the Susanoo style exploding implosion. It was so good that not only did it cut through the rock, it even cut through the tree in the background. Seeing that kind of success has actually fired him up, and that means he now has it in him to take out the giant boulder. Even though, pretty sure it was Amy that did all the hard work. Yeah, Susanoo, he knows something's not right. He knows that's not just his power alone that's causing it. That is a good touch, though. The merchant's like, oh, hey, you can beat up monsters now, right? I also couldn't help but notice there, I kind of missed it while it was happening, though. The merchant kind of walked off screen, except he didn't actually get off screen before he just froze into place. That's probably one of the side effects of this game. Yeah, right. It's just like Isun says. He's nothing without some divine intervention. Anyway, I'm pretty sure the merchant just kind of got frozen in place off on the side there. Because this game originally came out on the PS2, and that meant it didn't even come in widescreen, so... You know, the upgrade to widescreen is probably gonna have a few side effects like that. Student always keeps his eye on the money, which is pretty literal. He just wants a reward. I do appreciate that sometimes Amy is just not putting up with Isun's bullshit. So this is getting into part of the gameplay loop. I guess you could call it a loop, because it does happen a few times. So we're gonna have to find these guardian saplings that you mentioned to give them strength, then that's going to be very important. For reasons that should be evident fairly soon. Hopefully. Now you've got a map, there are a couple of saplings. You can zoom in on them. Sort of. So there's a blessing from the wood sprites. May the fresh scent of flowers protect you on your journey, or whatever. Something to that effect. Soon's not terribly interested in going on a journey to purge evil from the land or whatever. He's really just all about learning these brush techniques. Alright. With that, I'm finally allowed to go into kind of an overworld. It's not the only one, but this is Shinshu Field. Now, as I recall, I could be getting a couple of details mixed up, but Shinshu Field is named specifically for the area where Kamiya grew up. He just thought it would be nice. Alright, so an old ZL. Oh, wait. First, there's one of those guardian saplings. And there are these cursed zones. You don't want to go into them. You basically never have to go into them. I'll show off what happens if you do, though. We'll just go into this gray patch right here. So you can't use your powers. You can see your ink slowly drains. That circle with one of your health units slowly drains, or slowly shrinks. And when it goes out, then you just like pass out and you can't do anything. And then you're like taken back to the barrier of the zone. So, you know, fortunately, you never have to actually go through one. Figure running towards the lake. Alright, trippy crystal ball that makes plants grow. So let's go check that out. Apparently Susano went that way too. Alright, Hana Valley. Pretty sure Hana means flowers or something like that. So it makes sense that we'd be able to find something to help with making flowers bloom. Right. That was just not an item that lets you raise your godhood protection for free. Let's see. Talk about while I'm going through this battle. Oh, while I was talking about the unfortunate travesty of the Wii port, there was something I forgot to mention that I guess I can bring up now. So on top of the bad things about the game itself, there was one other infamous debacle, and that would be the box art. Maybe you've heard of this, maybe you haven't, but the image that they used for the box art actually had a watermark on it. It had a watermark from IGN, as in the gaming website. Well, almost had something, but didn't happen. The land is too cursed to restore whatever was going to be restored there. Anyway, yes, there was an IGN watermark on the box art that they used for the Wii version of Okami. Like they didn't use any kind of internal file that they would have had on hand. They just went to the internet and downloaded like the first result or something. And that version is what made it to print. So, yeah, when I heard about it, and I finally got my copy, I just had to look for myself, right? And sure enough, when you look closely, there's the watermark from IGN. Just right there. So, as kind of an apology for that, they did offer to send out replacements. They didn't have the watermark. They had alternate images that you could use. All you had to do is just put in a request for it, and they were supposed to send you one. But I never got mine. I never got the replacement. I think that's very rude. I don't know what happened. I will say that at the time I would have been in college and living in the dorms. So it's just possible that something happened to it and had it sent there. That, or maybe it ended up taking so long that I had already moved out by the time it actually got there. But either way, I never got my replacement box art for it, and they were jerks for not giving it to me. But I also read that you can go online and download high-quality PDFs of all the offerings that they had for replacement, so you can just print it out yourself if you're into that kind of thing. I don't know if I still have my Wii copy sitting around somewhere. I probably don't have the box for it anymore, even if I do. So it's a moot point. But I still haven't forgotten 11 years later. Oops, Susanoo let it hide that he just wants to hide. Got this mural here. It is missing something. It's missing the sun. How else will things grow? Hey, would you look at that? Well, I guess it's a good thing he stopped trying to push it open and he stood back before it exploded. Alright, and I gotta find this orb thing. So this is not the secret training ground, it's gonna be over here. Right, there was... something else I wanted to talk about. I guess it will have to be after the sequence. Because now Susanoo wants to fight a bear. It's just a sleepy bear that balances on round objects. I don't know if there's like a story behind it. Honestly, I've never bothered to look. And anyway, it's time for the Susanoo style Susanoo. Su-sa. And no. Susanoo. And now it's time for the exploding implosion on the bear. I'm sorry, bear. The bear does not wake up. It's actually like kind of a side quest, so to speak, to get more round things for the bear to stand on while it's sleeping. But as far as I'm aware, it just never wakes up. It just keeps on snoozing. Oh, look at that. Susanoo condemns the offense, not the offender. Which is his way of saying, I don't think I want to deal with this bear anymore. Now I'll just push this orb back to where it belongs. Kind of weird how the symbol on it never changes. Doesn't rotate around or spin or anything. Alright, almost got it. Just want to get it into the fountain there. Someone had a lot of their time on their hands to think this up, says Isun. Which, I wonder if you could read that as like a jab at level designers. what he wants me to do now is put the sun in the sky, make it shine through the orb. And like that painting on the wall, it's going to make this sapling bloom. Well, it is missing something. We're going to need a new technique. Alright, now let's see. I wonder. These little cutscenes where the god in question, appears, they do get funny. Although it is entirely possible that we will not see any of the actual, the really funny ones. So this monkey is part of the Hanagami. The Hanagami count as one god, even though there are 3 of them. The monkey said that the technique is called green sprout, so that means it has to do with the plants and stuff. So the first of the 3 things that it can do is called bloom, which means you draw a circle around plants, and then they bloom. Now the tree's blossomed, it can spread its influence across the land and purify it, and now the water is looking clean. The valley is vibrant. And all that good stuff. And we'll be able to use it on, other things. Plenty of other things. So we gotta use it outside, but I want to see. Before we can do that, we want to show off another application for it eventually. After this forced encounter. Something I'm not used to is you can get like these upgrade accessories, and one of them just constantly pulls in items that enemies drop towards you. And you don't start with it, so it's hard for me to remember that I don't have it. So I'm going out. So here's a way to deal with these trees. You cut the fruit to bounce the fruit back at it, and while it's dazed, you make it bloom. Here's yet another application. This grass here is all gross and got like kanji or something that probably says no. Gross. We'll just doodle over purple ooze on the ground, and there we go. It's all fixed up. Alright, I'm just gonna ignore those. Travel guide, we're just gonna skip that. That's just, you know, like an in-game manual. There have been all of these black trees around. You can make those bloom as well. Give them life. They'll drop fruit for you. It's nice. Actually, you know what? Okay, now it's nice. And we do have to fight these guys again. Hard to see everything with all those petals going around, flying around all over the place. And maybe I'll get into an actually random encounter soon. Maybe not. When you do get into like a random encounter, like an actual random encounter, you are allowed to escape from them. You'll see in the walls that there are like these cracks or something, so you just attack them to open up space to escape. Well, my praise is no longer nice, so that means here's another thing I can do. You'll see these green spots all over the place. Hey, Clover popped out. Imagine that. Make the clover bloom, give it some color, and that gives you praise. And generally, the harder it is to find, or the harder it is to actually access one of these clovers, because you do have to dig them up first. The harder it is to get to them, the more praise they offer you. And speaking of Clover, that means I get to finally segue into that thing I said I was going to talk about when I had to help Susanna deal with the bear. And that would be what happened with Clover Studio after this game. Well, it wasn't really this game specifically. Because they also made and released God Hand, also on the PS2. At roughly the same time. I want to say it came out like maybe a few months apart. Well, neither Okami nor God Hand did particularly well, truthfully, in terms of sales. From what I can find, you know, Okami had all the critical acclaim when it came out. It's just that no one really bought it for whatever reason. God Hand had mixed critical reception at first, but I understand that now it's a kind of a cult classic. Anyway, due to their commercial lack of success, shall we say, well, the initial thought was that that's why Clover Studio got shut down, and that's half true. So, what ended up happening for real, though, is that there were 3 important members of Clover Studio who had been with Capcom for quite a while. You had a man named Atsushi Inaba, who was producer for a lot of games. I'm pretty sure I put it down somewhere. Yeah, he produced, for example, he produced the Phoenix Wright trilogy. He produced Steel Battalion, the game with the infamous controller. He was also on, a lot of Kamiya's games. Like he was producer for Beautiful Joe. I'm pretty sure he was on Devil May Cry. So that's one person. Then there was Shinji Mikami, who either directed or produced pretty much the entire Resident Evil series up until Resident Evil 4. He did the Dino Crisis series. He was credited as executive producer of Devil May Cry and the Phoenix Wright games, and more. So those two, and then Hideki Kamiya himself. So those three all together, with all the work that they've done at Capcom, they felt that that working for Capcom was just too stifling, like, creatively. One of the reasons they cited when I was, doing my low-level research into this, was that Capcom had, like, an explicit policy of making sure that 70 to 80% of the titles that they were working on were sequels to already established properties. And they felt, the three of them at the time felt that usually it was closer to 100%. I mentioned earlier that the first 4 games that Clover Studio worked on, the studio that was created to develop these brand new IPs, the first 4 games they worked on were something that they had already established as Capcom. Like, they were a Beautiful Joe port, a Beautiful Joe sequel, and 2 separate Beautiful Joe spin-offs. And again, those all came out before Okami. So, the 3 of them, they ultimately decided that they were... that they didn't like the creative culture. They just didn't feel like they had enough freedom to do what they really wanted. So, after the commercial failures of Okami and God Hand, what Capcom wanted to do was just reintegrate the studio back into the main, like, company structure of Capcom. But when those 3 decided to resign, and they were, such huge, hugely influential talents in a lot of Capcom's library. Resident Evil, Phoenix Wright is just taking off. Take a look here. Yes, this is the part where I have to explore. Anyway, with those 3, moving on from the company, Capcom ultimately decided that the thing to do would be to just shut down the studio altogether. But the thing is that those 3 men, what they decided to do in the end, I guess I'm going to do this. What they decided to do was leave and form their own company. And I guess there are a couple of intermediary steps along the way. But the important thing is that the company that they went on to form is now known as Platinum Games. And Platinum Games, I think, is a bit of a reputation for making really good games. I plan to go more into the beginnings of Platinum tomorrow. So, save that for later. But, yeah, let's wrap this up. There is something I wanted to show off real quick. Oops. I accidentally used up all my ink. So I couldn't use my weapon to fight. It's fine. Let's see what's going on here. Well, that wasn't what I expected to see, but that is something you'll find in various locations. These devil gates, he generally wants to do them. They'll give you praise. They'll restore more of the area, which is good. This guy is who I really wanted to see. Hopefully I don't have to go through that gate too. This dojo. Hopefully I can actually afford it. So here is the master of the dojo, Onigiri Sensei. He's supposedly a fighting master, but he sure doesn't look like it. Alright, so... okay, I have just enough to cover one of the techniques, so let's do it. Alright, this is important, so make sure you pay attention. There you go. There's Onigiri Sensei. His head turns upside down, and turns out his face works both ways. And he did the Beautiful Joe pose. Like, that was very explicitly the Beautiful Joe pose. This is a little fun thing that they threw in. And I'm pretty sure it's because Onigiri is, you know, it's known in English as a rice ball. But I'm pretty sure it can also mean demon killer? Or something to that effect? So, they decided to take that idea and turn it into a character. And that's why his head flips upside down. Think of it as like a different reading of him, of his name. There you have it. I guess it is worth pointing out that even though I am learning a new move, as say, all it really is just an extra hit to my combo. And the unfortunate thing about these tutorials, about learning these extra moves, is that you have to do it like 8 times or something. I've never actually done it, so I don't know for sure. They really drill it into you, what you have to do to pull it off. So, yeah, that part is kind of annoying. If you... oh, alright. When you complete the training, you do get a healing item that is very potent. It's at 10 units of energy. I only have 3. And you probably won't even have to use one, if we're being honest. And even if you do, it's fine. I said before that, you know, there's no... You're only ever rated in battle on time taken and damage taken. If you use any items to make the battle go faster, it's fine, it doesn't count against you. If you have to use items to heal, that's also fine, it doesn't count against you. So, you know, like I said before, combat is very forgiving. Let's see. But, you know, I think I've basically covered all I really wanted to cover. I'm just going to take another look through my notes here. Oh, yeah, that pretty much covers it. Oh, there's one thing here I didn't mention, and it's that Okami ultimately did get a sequel. It was called Okami Den. It was on the DS, and to be honest, I've never played it. I've heard it was just kind of, you know, lukewarm. You know, nothing great, nothing, you know, offensively bad, from what I remember hearing. But I don't, other than that, I don't really know anything about it. Except that it does introduce Chibi Tarasu, which is, you know, Amaterasu, but in puppy form. So that's cute. But, anyway, yeah, I think that covers just about everything I wanted to talk about with Okami. You know, the context of which it was made, its legacy, things about how it was developed, or at least some of the ideas, or rather the fact that it had to go through so many ideas to get to where it ended up being. Yeah, that should do it for today, I think. There wasn't anything else I particularly wanted to show, so yeah, let us call it for the day. Next time, though, tomorrow, should be tomorrow, because I'm feeling pretty good about it. Tomorrow is going to be the next game that Hideki Kamiya directed, which will be perfect for the season. Because we're going to be playing Bayonetta, and that one is going to be a complete playthrough, sure of it. Yeah, then I'll talk a little bit more about Platinum Games in general, and, you know, how things started off for them. So yeah, so without any further ado, I'll see you then. Wow. I swear I didn't plan for it, but it is really good timing that it in-game it's, you know, becoming sunset. I just gotta say that. Wow. Alright, so hopefully see you tomorrow with, what's a good word to describe Bayonetta? Well, if you haven't seen it before, you'll see what it's like. Alright, so see you then, folks.